Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your old buddy Dietrich, and today I have the privilege of driving and reviewing a 2004 C5 Corvette. This was the last year of the C5 Corvette. 2005, it was replaced by the C6, which did not have pop-up headlights and was therefore demonstrably worse. The C5 Corvette is a pretty significant car in the Corvette line. It was both figuratively and literally the car that brought the Corvette into the 21st century. The third generation, the C3 Corvette, was in production from 68 to 82. The C4 was in production from 84 to 96. So when the fifth generation C5 came out in 97, it was replacing two very long-lived models and had some pretty significant technical advances. This was the first General Motors car with the legendary LS V8. The LS1 in the original 97 Corvette was a 5.7 liter, 346 cubic inch unit with 345 horsepower. By the time this 2004 model was built, they'd bumped that to 350 even. And it was also the first Corvette with a rear-mounted transaxle and a torque tube running through the whole thing to help with weight balance and distribution and handling. And very improved, which is kind of crazy to say looking in here, but like the gauges were very much improved over the C4, and they still look pretty good. The gauge cluster in this car, you know, obviously it's all analog based on the age, but it still looks pretty nice. And then the interior materials were also a big upgrade, which is hilarious because they just look like hell 20 years later since this one was built. I mean, this was kind of the, you know, this was still 90s General Motors because the original C5 came out in 97, and, you know, it's just hard molded plastics and the same climate control that you'd get in a Silverado truck, and, you know, just not the nicest interior bits and bobs. And of course this one's been old manified a little bit with the red leather steering wheel cover and grab handle covers, and, you know, basically every C5 Corvette has been modified in some way at this point, typically to old man specification. And the previous owner of this vehicle did fit that description, but no matter. It is still a lot of fun to drive, actually. I fit a little better in a C5 than I do in a C4, but it's still a little bit cramped for me. But overall, I've always loved Corvettes, and I think at the end of the day, this is my favorite one. This is my favorite generation, and I've always wanted to own one. Traffic is not really cooperating with me to allow me to drive it properly this morning, but even with its 4-speed automatic and its kind of outdated V8, you know, you still get some good performance out of these cars. They're still quick. It's not a very heavy car. This one does have the heads-up display. I think it's actually off. Let me turn it on. You probably can't even see that on the GoPro, but I do have a heads-up display. This one's got, I believe, a MagnaFlow exhaust on it, and very accurate steering, great view out over the hood. Hang on, pop-up headlights. Oh, pop-up headlights. Oh, it's the little things in life that make you happy, and if anything makes me happy, it's those pop-up headlights on a Corvette. This car's significant to me for a couple of reasons. The biggest one being this was kind of the Corvette that, got a little sideways on its own shift into second. This was the Corvette that was new and out when I was first realizing that I was gonna be a car nerd And so at the time, it was cutting edge. It was state of the art. I remember when the C5 Z06 came out. I think the first year it had 385 horsepower, and then they upped it to 405. And it was just like, oh my God, this thing is a rocket ship. And I was reading all the car magazines about it, and my old man was always very generous, buying me like car books and things like that. And you know, I've got a whole big coffee table book of Corvettes at home, and I consider this to really kind of be the last good-looking Corvette visually. I never thought the C6 was a good-looking car by any estimation. When the C7 came out, right before the C7 was unveiled, there was already rumors that they were going to go mid-engine with that one. Of course, they didn't go mid-engine until the C8. But when the C7 came out, I remember thinking, you know, that is a good-looking car, but it doesn't look like a Corvette. It's more like an American Ferrari. And, you know, it turns out, I think that, you know, they had probably had a pretty good inkling at that point that they were going to go mid-engine with the C8, so they tried to make the C7 look like it kind of sort of maybe could have been mid-engined, and then when they switched to the full-on mid-engined model on the C8, then it wasn't that much of a shock. And I think the C8's a fantastic looking car, but again, it doesn't look like a Corvette, it looks like a Ferrari. So to me, this was the last good looking Corvette that General Motors made, and it also was the last one with pop-up headlights. So it was the last one that matters to me. I don't care how fast a C8 is. I don't care. I really don't. It doesn't have pop-up headlights. I'm not interested, okay? That's just my policy. You can disagree with me on that all you want. That's fine. That's what makes America amazing. We disagree with each other, and then we make up conspiracy theories about each other. That's our policy around here these days. Oh, but I do love driving a Corvette. And this one sounds really good. And realistically, I've driven a C8, and I have carved up traffic on the 210 freeway in a C8. And yeah, it's faster than this, but I don't know if you really need it to be faster than this. There's only so much you can do on a public road, and I don't know how many goofballs are taking their C8s to track days. I just don't think it's a common practice. But I could be wrong. If you have a C8 and you take it to the racetrack all the time, leave me a comment. This thing is all full of squeaks and rattles, but it is still much more refined than a C4. And at this point, in fairness, this is a 20-year-old car. So I can't really fault it too much for having squeaks and rattles. That's just kind of what happens when a car becomes this age. I think this was the last production car with pop-up headlights. What a shame. At 50 miles an hour on a relatively smooth road. I don't know if the GoPro's picking all that up, but there's so much just squeaks and rattles and hilarity. It is funny because you can tell when it's idling that we've got a lot of engine under here, and you feel like you're in such a small car. Oh, what the hell? Let's go. Full throttle. Oh! It gets rubber when it shifts itself into second. That's hilarious. Oh, man. Well, back in my day, Corvettes had pop-up headlights, a tranny in the rear, and if I got confused when I was cruising down by the docks late at night, a tranny in the passenger seat. But, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, boys. That nut ain't gonna bust itself. Oh! Full throttle. Yeah! It's fast. It's still fast, and it's fun. The sensation of speed in this car is very much there because you obviously hear the engine and it's moving quick and things are rattling and shaking and you know you're going fast in this car. I have a Mercedes S65 AMG, which is 621 horsepower and much heavier and a much different automobile from what this is. But the problem with the S65 is because the V12 is so hushed and smooth and refined and the whole car is meant to be such a smooth driving experience that it doesn't give you the sensation of speed. You don't ever really feel like you're going fast in that car until you're doing like 130. And then you just know you're going fast because you're passing everybody so quickly. This thing, 40 to 60, you have the sensation of speed. You're low to the ground. It's great. This is fun. This is a fun car. And the LS engine is such an improvement over the old Chevy small blocks. It just pulls so much better at higher RPMs, at least compared to the C4 Corvettes that I've driven with the old LT1, the old LT1 V8. The new LT1 obviously is a different story. Oh, this is great. Anyway, I don't really have a whole lot to say else about this car. I just basically had an extra hour to kill and I had the time to do this, and just figured I'd film a C5 because I love them. It's my favorite Corvette. I love the way the C3s look. I've never actually driven one, but I've heard they don't drive that great, and I've heard that reliability on them is a friggin' nightmare, which is probably true, but they'll last a long time because General Motors cars run bad longer than most cars run at all, so they got that going for them. But anyway, I'm gonna shut this thing off and get this car back to where it came from. As always, please like my video, subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment, and have a great day. Bye-bye.